Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Got your questions here regarding the world of WWE. Let's get started with the first one today from J5. Sup bruh? Do you think we will ever see a Brock Lesnar versus a heel Randy Orton match to main event at WrestleMania? Let me start off by saying that I would love to see that match. To me, that is one of the biggest matches that WWE could have at a WrestleMania. And I feel that WWE has wasted Randy Orton's name and his value, because Randy Orton has been one of the top WWE stars for the past 13 years now. Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, they both came into the company around the same time, and I think for many fans it's a dream match. And I think it's a match that would attract not only the current fan base, but also fans that were watching back during the Ruthless Aggression era. To me, it's just good business to do that match. Randy Orton is a bona fide superstar, and it's one of the few big matches that WWE has not done at a major event. I'm not even sure if they've had a one-on-one match in WWE. I would love to see it happen. Will it happen? That remains to be seen. There's a lot of possibilities for Brock Lesnar. Right now, there's a lot of speculation because Undertaker and Lesnar are having their match at Hell in a Cell, and that opens the door for Brock Lesnar to face somebody else at WrestleMania 32. Now, maybe we're going to have Lesnar versus Austin, and in that case, that's the match you should go with. But if Austin's not doing a match, when I look at the possible opponents for Lesnar, Orton makes sense to me. I'd rather see that than another Lesnar versus Reigns match. I would love to see Orton versus Lesnar at WrestleMania. Maybe not if next year, then WrestleMania 33 or WrestleMania 34, hopefully soon. I definitely feel WWE should do that match at some point. Alright, this one comes from Gerardo. What do you think about these recent fan incidents at WWE shows? Is WWE putting superstars in danger with poor security lately? I think that if this happened maybe 2 times in a short period of time, you could just chalk it up to being a coincidence. But the fact that it's happened 4 times now in the past several months. First you had the fan throwing the briefcase at Roman Reigns, and then you had the fan trying to attack Dean Ambrose, and after that you had the fan walking down the ramp with Seth Rollins, and then at Night of Champions you had the fan trying to be the 3rd member of the Shield. You've had so many fan run-ins lately that I think that's a sign WWE needs to improve security. And you even had WWE's former head of security speak out and go as far to say that somebody should be fired for this. And I don't know if that's the case exactly, but I definitely feel WWE should step it up with their security. And besides adding more people, more security at events, maybe do a public service announcement similar to the Don't Try This at Home videos. Just do a little video package, or have the announcer say something, or do something on television. Just make it clear to fans that it's not safe to jump over the rails. The person jumping over the rails is at risk, and also the performers are at risk. If you're going to attend a WWE event, go there, enjoy the show, don't become part of the show. And I think WWE should just make that message clear, and that should help matters. Alright, this one comes from Elijah B. Could you see WWE doing a 3rd Rock and Cena match? Why do you even suggest the idea of this? Is this something you want to see? Because I sure as hell don't. I have no desire to see Rock versus Cena again. I don't want to see it a year from now. I don't want to see it 5 years from now. I don't want to see it 10 years from now. To me, it should have been once in a lifetime as they build it. Doing it the 2nd time was overkill. Doing it a 3rd time, I don't find the need to do it. I would like to see John Cena against different people. Put him in there with Undertaker. Put him in there with somebody he hasn't faced at WrestleMania. And as far as The Rock goes, I feel the same thing with The Rock. Put him in there with a fresh opponent. Put him in there with somebody he hasn't faced at WrestleMania. I'd rather see Rock versus Triple H, because they haven't had a one-on-one WrestleMania match. I would rather see Rock versus Brock Lesnar again, because it's been 13 years. And I still don't want to see John Cena versus The Rock in 13 years. Not interested in seeing it again. So I hope WWE doesn't do it again, but knowing them, it's still a possibility. So if you really want to see that match, I would say there's still a decent chance of it happening. I just hope it doesn't. Moving on here, this one comes from Jake. What was the point of the vote no confidence superstar walkout angle in 2011? What were they trying to lead to, if anything? If my memory serves me correctly, it was just a ploy for ratings, and WWE never really followed up on that storyline. And if you want to know my thoughts on that, go back and watch NoDQ&A video episode 41, back when I was very monotone. Now I'm just semi-monotone. Back then, I criticized the angle because of the fact that it made no sense where you had all the baby faces voting no confidence in Triple H. You would think that at least some people would have supported Triple H, but all the baby faces were against him, as well as the heels. And what further made no sense was when Triple H went heel in 2013, where was the walkout then? They did it once, why didn't they do it again? It's like WWE basically ignored that 2011 storyline, and I think for good reason. I think it's good for all of us to forget that storyline. It could have been something huge, but WWE never went anywhere with it, and that's very typical of WWE, to have an interesting storyline idea and then it goes nowhere. Alright, moving on here. This one comes from Amir. Please answer in video. What is Goldberg's best match in both WWE and WCW? Well, as far as WWE goes, there's not that many matches to choose from because he wasn't there for very long. I would say Elimination Chamber if Goldberg had actually won the match and beat Triple H for the title. Looking at the matches that he had in WWE, I think I would go with Goldberg versus Jericho from Bad Blood 2003. As far as WCW matches, I think you would have to go with Goldberg versus Hogan. That was certainly a very historic match, probably the biggest match in WCW history in terms of how significant it was. You had the biggest crowd in WCW history, I believe, and the biggest gate. I'm not sure of that, but it was it set a lot of records for WCW television ratings. You know, it was a all-time classic in WCW. Goldberg beating Hogan for the title. Wasn't like it was the best match or anything in WCW history, but as far as historic matches go, I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that. And the pop that Goldberg got for winning the title was unreal. Another match, Goldberg versus DDP from Halloween Havoc 98. Of course, there was the big controversy with the cable power going out and fans not being able to see that match, but it was a really good match between those two. Probably the best technical match of Goldberg's career. Some would argue Bret Hart and Goldberg had a couple good matches, but that one really stood out in 98 at Halloween Havoc. So I would go with one of those two. Alright, this one comes from PK the First. Hey, first time asking, what do you think about Daniel Benoit wrestling, and do you see him making it in the WWE and how far he will go? I assume you're talking about David Benoit. I don't think Daniel Benoit is going to be in WWE, unfortunately. David Benoit, I have answered this question before, but I'll go ahead and answer it again. The answer is no, and the reason simply being the name Benoit. WWE is not going to promote that name. Not now, and probably not ever. Even if he changed his name, the problem with that is fans know he's a Benoit, and you're going to have those smart fans doing Benoit chants at live events on television, bringing signs. It's just going to create too many headaches for WWE. And maybe 50 years down the line, whether it's WWE or another company, maybe somebody with the name Benoit will have a shot to make it in the mainstream wrestling industry in the United States. But I don't see the name Benoit ever being mentioned on purpose for a very long time, if ever, in mainstream professional wrestling in the United States. So I would say no, unfortunately for him. It is, you could say, the Benoit curse. Alright, this one comes from Isaac Rawman. Hey Aaron, if you could rebook one major WWE angle, what would it be and how would you do it? Easy answer, the Invasion. Probably the most botched storyline in WWE history and the wrestling industry, period. Because there was so much potential they had, so much money they could have made, so many different ways it could have gone. They could have dragged it out for years. And instead, they started it in May, June 2001, And by Survivor Series, it had completely fizzled out, and the WCW and ECW brands were just completely dead in the water. I would have done that way differently. I would have pushed the guys that they had, the DDPs, the Booker T's. I would have made them go over guys like The Undertaker, not the opposite. I would have spent the money and bought out the Time Warner contracts. I would have brought in Goldberg. I would have brought in Flair. I would have brought in Hogan. I would have brought in every major name possible. Spend the money. In order to make money, you have to spend money. And I would have done a big pay-per-view at Invasion where if the WCW team won, they got their own television show at WWE's expense. And at that point, you could have done the brand extension. You could have had Raw on Mondays. You could have had Nitro replace SmackDown on Thursdays, and you could have done a brand extension, and every once in a while you could have done a joint pay-per-view, WWF versus WCW, maybe a yearly special, or even just saved it for WrestleMania, something like that, and keep the two brands separate, and WCW would have lived on as the second brand. That's what I would have done. But WWE, they got cold feet, and they buried the WCW guys. They merged it with ECW, and then they did all these worthless turns with Austin going heel, stuff that made no sense, and it was just a complete disaster. Alright, this one comes from Harry Flynn. What is your favorite faction breakup? Well, this is a tough one. I mean, looking back in history, a lot of factions tend to just, they fizzle out randomly, and there's no real official breakup of the group. The closest thing to a real breakup of a faction, I think, would have to be The Shield in 2014. Seth Rollins hitting his partners with the chair. That was the official end of The Shield. That was a true breakup of a faction. So I would go with that as my top choice. I mean, I think about the NWO, it just kind of faded away. The Horsemen just kind of faded away. Evolution kind of just faded away. All of them never really had an official breakup, a moment where it was clear this group is done. With The Shield, when Seth Rollins turned on those guys and you could hear that fan in the crowd going, "No!" That was a true end of that group. So I would go with The Shield breaking up. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding Hell in the Cell and Brocktober coming up. And I will see you guys next time for more.